Morning everyone, Luke from Health and High Performance here, and in today's live video we're down here at Active Feet in Camberwell, and we're speaking today with Damian from Active Feet. And Damian's got a wealth of experience in the shoe industry. He's going to run us through all the latest in the winter shoes updates and also their approach to prescribing shoe wear. So I'll spin this around and take it away. Damian, mate, go for it.
Good morning everyone, thanks for joining us on a mild winter morning. Thanks Luke for doing this with us, and we're going to run through essentially some updates and some current footwear from each of the brands, just to give you an idea of what's out there. I'll start first by giving you a quick rundown of Active Feet. Why would you bother coming to Active Feet? We're more of a podiatry based store, so we use our gait analysis on a treadmill. We've got trained staff, a lot of podiatry students and podiatrists that will take you through a process to make sure that we end up in what we feel is going to be the best option for you. We'll start with running through some of the shoes from the brands. I've made a bit of a mess, but it'll all make sense in a minute. So really, how do we choose any of these shoes to match up with an individual? It's going to be based on a few elements. So without boring you, let's talk about the person. So somebody's foot shape makes a difference as to which type of shoe shape will fit them best. Somebody's weight, believe it or not, is a factor. Your alignment or your biomechanics, so how you move through your running movement pattern or the gait cycle, the surfaces that you're running on, the amount of running you're doing, the intensity you're doing it with, any injuries, and what you've been wearing previously is all really relevant and important. If somebody has what we might think is some compromised biomechanics, but when they're running and they've been running in, for the sake of the argument, dumbbell volleys, and they've got no injuries, then you don't want to move them too far away from that unless things are changing. So that just gives you a highlight. I've chosen this shoe just to show you a real difference in the shoe shapes. So this one is what we call a straight last or a full shape of shoe. It's very full through the middle. This is a minority in its design. Not a lot of shoes are made with this full shape, but a flatter foot fits comfortably into there. Most shoes are built on a slightly narrower and probably more of a familiar shape, and that's the majority of shoes. So let's get into the brands and the shoes and what they've got on offer and what might suit you. So a lot of us love our Asics. So the ongoing shoe, one of the key shoes from Asics is the Kayano. It's a really strong structured shoe. It's been around for a long time. Be aware that the shape and fit of this shoe has changed, the function not as much, but it's what we call a stability shoe. It's nice and strong in the back. It won't bend or twist and turn too much. And on the inside edge, roughly through the arch area, it's reinforced with a firm material. That means it won't compress as easily and reduces how much somebody's foot will overpronate or roll in. So that's a shoe that's been around for ages. It's a really solid, stable, durable shoe, cushioning forefoot and heel, one that you might be familiar with. Not for everyone, more on the stability side. We're going to move to Brooks Adrenaline. It has had a few changes also, but this is a nice lightweight, slightly more flexible option with some stability through it. That's the Brooks Adrenaline. It's a really popular shoe, coming in various widths as well. So we find that this one on the foot works pretty well for a lot of people. So definitely one to have a look at if you're doing some high mileage. Mizuno, the Japanese brand, believe it or not, more popular in Japan than Asics. They've been around since day dot, like all the other brands. Mizuno use or have been using a technology that's seen them through quite well. It's this wave plate, which is like a spring. This particular model is the Inspire. It's lightweight. It's a more snug fitting through the heel. It's got some good toe space, and some of these shoes have extra flare in the forefoot, so that provides some late stage stability for somebody that needs it. Looks a little bit broader looking down, but still a comfortable fit around the foot, and you'll see that runs through a few different brands and models, and that just provides that late stage stability. So that was the Mizuno. New Balance. This is Luke's favourite shoe.
Here's my favourite, yes.
So this one's the 1080. The 1080 again has seen some changes. This particular model is a little bit more full volume, which means that there's a bit more padding. It's also a little bit more rigid, which provides some better transition for a lot of runners. Lightweight, well cushioned. This is what we call a neutral shoe. It's not overcompensated with stability. So it's for what we call a more neutral runner that's looking to do a lot of Ks, maybe on harder surfaces. And as we said, one of Luke's favourites, so you can ask him about it.
Yeah, well, my second pair already, so.
Very good. This one's a Saucony. Now, one thing that Saucony have done, or Saucony if I pronounce it correctly, is that they've reduced their heel height ratio. So what that means is a lot of shoes have got higher at the heel and then they taper towards the toe. What they've done is they've actually reduced that pitch for a couple of reasons. It takes a little bit of bulk out of the shoe. It also prescribes a little bit more to that barefoot or more natural motion idea. What it will do though, somebody that has Achilles issues, it will put a little bit more strain through the back of the Achilles because it's lower. So just be aware of that. If you've got that issue, it may be something that you just need to be aware of. If you can transition into a shoe like this, great. These guys, I do enjoy running in their shoes. They've got a nice soft cushioning underfoot. They are a little less bulky and they perform well, a good transition. Now I guess a hot topic, Hoka 11. You're probably familiar with this brand. I'll just show you the last shape. This shape is quite full, but not necessarily for a flatter arch or flatter foot. The reason that they're full is that having a broader base of stability makes this a really stable shoe. They are surprisingly lightweight. So to have the lightweight with the stability, they need to have a broader platform. What these shoes do is that they transition the foot quite well from heel to forefoot. They were designed by and for ultramarathoners, so this shoe does not bend through the toes. The advantage can be that as the foot normally bends in a running shoe when you're running, this one won't, so it rolls you across so your toes don't flex as much and therefore can take some pressure off those toes, means your feet are less likely to fatigue. I've done a lot of running in the Hokas as well. I really like them. I do alternate into other shoes though, so it's great for those distance runs if you need that little bit of extra protection too. So Hoka 11, a few different models. And just a note about all of our brands at the moment, thanks to good old coronavirus, there's been some delay in delivery of product and even manufacture. So the Hokas might be a little bit harder to come by just at the moment. When we get to September, which is a few months away, there'll be plenty back in stock. So that's the majority of really the distance type stuff. It's a snapshot from each of the brands. Hopefully gives you an idea of what's out there. What's best for you, we need to figure that out for each person. We'll move on to maybe some racing stuff. A lot of people that are doing some more serious training and racing might want a lightweight shoe. So again, an offer from each of the brands. A couple that we'll just highlight today, because they're a little different. If you look at the shape of this one being a New Balance have been very innovative. They've certainly changed their models and construction to become a much better transition for the most part in all of their shoes. Known back in the day as a bulky shoe, something that Seinfeld might have worn with his jeans, but really specific running shoes now. This one's called the Fuel Cell Rebel. So the design feature here with this flare is really so somebody is more on the mid to forefoot, and you can see that the design of the outer sole promotes that landing there. Really interesting shoe. Luke's apparently running these as well.
Got a pair of those.
I've had a play with these. They're super lightweight. Probably not for somebody that needs the extra stability, but a lightweight responsive option. And really quickly again, just from each brand, Mizuno Wave Shadow. This is a stable, lightweight racing shoe. If you're wanting something lighter, there are other options as well, but a really good stable option. You've got Asics DS Trainer, that's been around for a while and really hasn't changed. The improvement here is a knit upper, so it's a nicer fit across the toes. The Kinvara from Saucony, we talked about the pitch before. This one is even lower. This one's a 4mm pitch, and that's something that works for some people. again, I've done quite a bit of running in these. I like them. They're lightweight, they're responsive. And Brooks, of course, have got a bunch of shoes out there as well, including their racing models. That one called the Asteria, again with a little bit more stability through it. So a snapshot of racing, and we should look at the hot topic, carbon-plated shoes.
Speaking about hard to get, but there's one in there in particular has gone within a couple of days, as you mentioned before.
Absolutely. So let's talk about maybe why you might want or need or want to have a play with these sorts of shoes. We spoke about Hoka earlier having that stiffness through the forefoot. Certainly there's a carbon plate that runs through the midsole of the front of these shoes. So this is the Nike Zoom Fly, and what the idea is it's designed for propulsion. Certainly some of the fastest people in the world happen to be wearing these types of shoes at the moment, and if any one of us want to be cracking some records, we might want these sorts of shoes for race day. To do some training in them. I've had an older pair of these that have covered probably over 1,000 kilometres, a little bit too far, but nevertheless have found them really comfortable and they've worked well for me. But what does this shoe do? It's designed for propulsion. So once you go from somewhere towards the back of the shoe on heel strike through mid stance, at this point it's not going to let your toes flex as much and simply push you off the front for that extra propulsion. There's lots of talk, there's some research around it. Does it work? Yeah, it does. Would you want to wear this shoe all the time? Probably not, because your feet might get a little lazy because they're not working as much. But carbon plated shoes, they're amazing. They're lightweight, they work well. Again, maybe for your race days more than anything. If you do end up looking at these, you might want one to have a few trial runs in before you take them out for a run. Luke mentioned that they're sold out. Pretty much all of our carbon plated shoes are getting pretty scarce. We'll get to the more scarce ones. This one's been an interesting one from Brooks, probably one of the lightest at the moment. A really firm carbon plate and a little bit of a firmer feel. What Nike and some of these other brands have done is created a carbon plated shoe with a softer feel to it. If you like a more responsive feel, that's probably one to look for. That's the Hyperion Elite from Brooks. Probably not everybody's shoe that's accessible, partly because of the price point too. So we're looking at higher price points for all of these. This one tops up at $400, $230. The next one we get to is $320.
There we go. This is the latest and greatest.
This one is the Endorphin Pro from Saucony. We were overwhelmed by how much attention it got. We sold out in pretty much 24 hours. This is one of the last ones in, ladies. If you're an 8.5, give us a call. Make sure it's still here. So this one, again, super lightweight. If I just compress this midsole, you'll see that there's a lot of give in there. They're using a really responsive, lightweight cushioning system. Again, won't bend through the forefoot. Feels amazing on the foot. Something that I know one of our other practitioners, one of our podiatrists, ended up taking over the other options that she had. And she does some triathlons as well. So that's the Endorphin Pro. There's a couple of others on the market and coming out soon that sit underneath, and what they do is they don't have the carbon plate through them, but they still have a propulsive type construction. So the Endorphin Pro 320, very hard to get, I think, Australia-wide now. So Endorphin Pro. And we have had this one for a little while again, pretty much out in men's, but this one's the New Balance. It's the Fuel Cell TC being their racing shoe. All of these shoes do share similar sorts of profiles, some a little bit broader and narrower. The thing we like about the Endorphin Pro is it's slightly broader, but most of these shoes offer a nice broader base for that lightweight stability, again along the lines of the Hoka concept and the Nike being a little bit narrower. Again, carbon plated, lightweight, responsive, a little bit softer underfoot. So that's some of the carbon range. Most of the brands are playing in that area, and just so you know, They were due to be released in line with the Olympics this year, which obviously has been postponed. So there would have been a lot of athletes wearing them. I'm sure that they've got them now and they're training in them while we get ready for whenever the Olympics comes back. So hopefully that gives everybody a snapshot of what's out there. Just another couple of quick notes from us is if you're getting into your running, certainly try and get the right fit. Go somewhere like Active Feet that is going to take you through a process of elimination, ask all the questions, has some sort of assessment process so that you get a shoe that's going to be better for you. If you're doing more running, we would, in fact, it sounds like a sales pitch, but there is some research behind it, encourage you to alternate at least a couple of pairs of shoes. So that sounds a little bit rich, but what it does do, especially if they're slightly different shoes, and it might be a couple from different categories, so they're for different purposes, but even for your day in, day out training shoe, alternating 2 pairs of shoes means that your feet actually work a little bit different. So the intrinsic muscles within your foot doesn't get lazy and gets used to one thing and gets to work out slightly different way in a slightly different shoe. The other factor is that wearing 2 shoes and alternating them means that you get the life of essentially 3 consecutive shoes in a row. So there is a cost saving to that exercise as well. So if you can, nice to alternate shoes. Luke and I are lucky and we're shoe geeks and we've got a few ourselves,
yes.
So we get to choose.
Yeah.
But if you're starting out, start with 1 pair that's right. If you're doing a bit more running and getting a bit more serious about it, do consider alternating a couple of pairs. That's better for your overall injury prevention and your feet will be happier and you get a bit more life out of both of them. So hopefully that helps everyone. Good luck with the running. Rug up, get some layers on and keep running. Thanks
Excellent.
again.
Thanks, mate. Thanks very much. And get down to Active Feet, guys, for all your shoe wear. Thanks, Damian.
You're welcome.
See you guys.
See ya.